And moving on to the next company that we're going to talk to in this world of startup is Vahdam India. It's surely made a name globally, from Oprah Winfrey to Ellen DeGeneres. Everyone is spoken about this, everyone knows about this, and that is Vahdam India. We're joined by the founder Bala Sarda on this very special day, and because India just has a big heritage in terms of not only yoga, a culture in the wellness industry, turmeric to tea to herbal teas, what does well in the global markets. To talk all about that, we're joined by Bala this evening. And Bala, firstly, a very happy International Yoga Day to you as well.
No, absolutely, Vinnii. I think if you look at India as a country, I think we've always offered a lot of holistic wellness, methods to the world. Yoga, Ayurveda are practiced all over the world. Products like teas and spices are the healthiest things you consume. But it's very heartening to see that, after several decades, it is now, all these products are now being recognized as something which comes from India. And I think, I should give it to our Prime Minister and a lot of entrepreneurs who are now trying to take Indian products to the world and proudly telling the world that it comes from India. And that's something which is very, very heartening to see. I think in addition to that, I think post-COVID, there has definitely been an acceleration of, movement, consumption patterns of consumers towards, wellness options and wellness variants. And I think there were a lot of trends, which were one-off post-COVID, but I think this is something which is here to stay. And we are seeing a higher increase in consumption of all these products across the world, including the United States.
So, talking about the country in terms of India's heritage, we have many remedies, many recipes, solutions from wellness industries, whether it be yoga, whether it be herbal tea, whether it be turmeric. Would you want Vahdam to be a synonymous for this? Is that something that you're looking at now, to bringing all these secret remedies and recipes to the world?
Correct. So I think, Vinnii, right now, I think the opportunity is, of course, tremendous and all over. India makes 25-30% of the world's production of tea. India is the largest producer and exporter of spices in the world. Popular spices like turmeric, 80% of the world's turmeric is made in India. So I think the opportunity is, of course, tremendous. And, we ultimately want to go into as many countries as possible. But I think right now, our focus continues to be in North America and Europe. I think US, Canada, of course, account for almost 70% of our revenue. Europe is number 2. And, while, of course, we do a little bit in India, I think the focus continues to be in these markets. And for the next 24 to 36 months, our key strategy is to just go deeper in all of these markets and, most importantly, go omni-channel, right? I think Vahdam has always been a digital-first brand. And that's going to be the DNA for us, even many years from today. But I think, how do we now translate this brand awareness, the kind of products which we know will do well, given the data we have with the 4 million consumers we have shipped our products to. I think, how do we now go omni-channel in these markets is really what we are focusing on, and trying to go deeper in.
So, the wellness industry, that's growing quite at a fast pace, not only in India, but globally as well. Could you talk to us about your strategy, both in the international as well as the domestic market? Will you start focusing more on the domestic market as well?
Right. So I think, Vinnii, from our portfolio, I think we expect 100% plus CAGR growth for the spices category over the next 2-3 years for us as a business. Of course, it just started, so the numbers are relatively smaller in comparison to our tea business. But I think overall, to give you some numbers, right? I think post-COVID, I think there has been a massive acceleration in the spices industry, in global markets. Of course, India, we have been consuming spices in a large scale, large volumes for several decades. But I think even in global markets, I think we are seeing a very healthy growth rate. And most importantly, a wide space for an origin-based, trusted, unadulterated brand of spices, right? And that's really what Vahdam is trying to fill. And in that space, I think we are very, very bullish, and we believe we can build, something we have done in tea, which took us 8 years in tea. I think we can build that in spices in a much shorter period of time.
So you did mention about your spices and you said that, obviously it's in the early stage, but it started seeing a very good response right now. What is the growth that is there for the Indian spices market and the global strategy over there, if you could throw in some numbers there?
Right. So I think Vinnii, more than inflation, I think given, that had a negligible impact on our P&L, from a input cost perspective. But I think overall, given the situation of the market, I think, there's been an overall slowdown in global markets last year, primarily because of the stock markets being at an all-time low, the war, the Ukraine conflict, and several other issues, right? I think basis that there's been an overall a slowdown in demand, but I think it's recovering very, very strongly, and we are seeing that in the US this year, and I think we're just hopeful that it will come back on track by the end of this year.
Inflation, tea inflation, that have become most of a concern in terms of most of these FMCG companies, and across the globe inflation has been a big concern, pinching the pockets of more of the customers and consumers. Did that in any sort of way impact your demand? How is that you're seeing in the international market in terms of the demand trends as well?
Right. So I think, Vinnii, like I said, right, I think for us, the vision is very clear. I think the why of the brand is taking the best of India, taking the best of Indian products, which have a strong wellness connotation, to the world under a proud, ethical, sustainable, homegrown label. That's really the why we have tried to build of the brand. And in that, I think anything and everything which comes under that, is something which we will potentially sort of do. I don't know what's our third category going to be, but I think right now we have enough on the plate with spices, which is a large untapped category for us. So I think for the next 36 months, of course, the focus continues to be, spices, along with, of course, growing our tea portfolio. But I think, like I said, right, I think we plan to definitely add more categories as we build the business over the next few years.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Startup Central on ET Now. Thank you so much for tuning in to ET Now. And remember that you can write to us on suc@etnow.tv. Catch you at the same time tomorrow.